Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you've lost your grip on reality? A conversation that leaves you questioning your own memory, second-guessing your own feelings, and thinking, maybe it's all in your head? That dizzying feeling of self-doubt isn't an accident. It's a hallmark of a powerful and insidious manipulation tactic known as gaslighting. Gaslighting is the act of psychologically manipulating someone to the point where they question their own sanity. But the manipulator's power dissolves when you can see their tactics for what they are. It's like shining a bright light into a dark corner. The shadows disappear, and you see what's truly there. This awareness is not just comforting, it's a form of psychological armor. When you can name the game, you're no longer an unsuspecting player. You become an informed observer, capable of protecting your own mind and your own well-being from these corrosive patterns of interaction. In this video, we are going to arm you with knowledge. We're exposing 7 specific phrases that gaslighters use as their weapons. Recognizing these phrases in the moment, hearing them, and understanding the manipulative intent behind them is the first and most critical step to breaking the cycle, disengaging from the toxic dynamic, and reclaiming your reality. It's about taking back your power, one recognized phrase at a time. So, let's dive into the first phrase, a classic in the gaslighter's playbook. You're overreacting, or its close cousin, you're too sensitive. How many times have you heard this when you've tried to express a genuine hurt or concern? This phrase is a masterclass in emotional dismissal. Its primary function is to make you question your own emotional responses, to make you doubt the validity of what you're feeling. It's designed to recalibrate your internal emotional thermostat, suggesting that it's set too high, that your reactions are disproportionate, when in reality, they might be perfectly appropriate. The insidious beauty of this phrase, from the manipulator's perspective, is how effectively it shifts the blame. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer about their questionable behavior, their unkind words, or their broken promise. No, the spotlight swivels directly onto you and your supposedly flawed emotional state. They did something that upset you, you reacted, and now your reaction is the problem, not their initial action. It's a way for them to sidestep any accountability, to avoid looking at their own conduct by making you the one who is too much or not enough in your emotional expression. Over time, hearing you're too sensitive repeatedly can have a deeply corrosive effect on your self-trust. You might start to internalize this criticism, genuinely believing that there's something wrong with how you experience emotions. You might begin to suppress your feelings, to downplay your reactions, to avoid being labeled as oversensitive or dramatic. This creates a dangerous disconnect from your own emotional compass, that inner guidance system that tells you when something is wrong or when your boundaries have been crossed. You start to live in a state of constant self-monitoring and self-doubt, which is exactly where the gaslighter wants you. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. Your feelings are valid, period. They are your internal signals, and they deserve to be listened to, especially by you. If you feel hurt, angry, sad, or disrespected, those feelings are real, and they are providing you with important information. Strong emotions are often a natural and healthy response to being mistreated, ignored, or invalidated. It's not about the volume of your emotion, but the reason for it. Don't let anyone convince you that your feelings are an inconvenience or a sign of weakness. So the next time you hear you're overreacting, I want you to pause, take a breath, and remember to trust your emotional instincts. If something feels off, if a comment stings, if an action feels disrespectful, your feelings are likely pointing to a legitimate issue. Don't allow someone else to define your emotional reality or dictate how you should feel. Your gut feeling, that intuitive sense, is an incredibly powerful tool in navigating relationships and protecting your well-being. Hold on to it. Now let's move on to a truly destabilizing phrase, one that can make you feel like the ground is shifting beneath your feet. That never happened. This isn't just a dismissal of your feelings. This is a direct assault on your memory, your perception of events, and ultimately your grip on reality. When a gaslighter utters these words, they are attempting to rewrite history, to erase an event or a conversation as if it were a line of chalk on a blackboard. It's a bold, blatant denial, and its impact can be profoundly disorienting. The psychological effect of that never happened is significant because it creates intense cognitive dissonance. You know what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced. Your memory, your senses, all confirm the event. Yet, here is someone, often someone you trust or care about, confidently and unequivocally stating that your reality is false. This clash between your internal certainty and their external denial can make you start to question your own sanity. Am I misremembering? Did I dream it? Am I losing my mind? These are the seeds of doubt this phrase is designed to sow. Understand that this is a calculated power move. By denying reality, the gaslighter aims to control the narrative. If they can convince you that things didn't happen the way you remember, or didn't happen at all, they maintain a position of dominance. They create an alternate reality where their actions are always justifiable, or where problematic incidents simply cease to exist. This erodes your confidence in your own judgment and makes you more reliant on their version of events, which conveniently for them always paints them in a favorable light. It's a heist of your personal history. It's crucial, therefore, to consciously work on trusting your memory. While it's true that human memory isn't a perfect video recording, gaslighters exploit this general knowledge to make you doubt even very clear, vivid recollections, especially those pertaining to their negative behavior or promises they've broken. They will seize on any minor inconsistency you might express or any slight hesitation as proof that your entire recollection is flawed. Don't fall for it. Your memory of significant events, particularly those that evoked strong emotions, is often more robust than they want you to believe. So, when faced with that never happened, what can you do? Internally, at the very least, hold fast to your truth. Acknowledge to yourself, I know what I experienced, I remember this. Sometimes keeping a private journal or confiding in a trusted friend can help reinforce your reality. The core defense, however, is an unwavering internal commitment to trusting your own perceptions and recollections, even when someone is trying their hardest to convince you that you're wrong. Your lived experience is yours, and it is valid. Let's unmask another common gaslighting phrase, one that often flies under the radar because it's disguised as humor. I was just joking, or can you take a joke? This is the classic get-out-of-jail-free card for someone who has just said something mean, insulting, or inappropriate. They deliver the verbal jab, see your negative reaction, and then quickly try to defuse their responsibility by claiming it was all in jest. It's a way to say something hurtful and then deny the malicious intent behind it. This phrase puts you in a terrible double bind. If you react with hurt or anger to the joke, you're suddenly painted as the one with the problem. You're too serious, you lack a sense of humor, you're uptight. The focus shifts from their inappropriate comment to your supposed inability to appreciate their wit. This is incredibly manipulative because it allows them to insult you, often targeting your insecurities or vulnerabilities. And then if you call them out, they can blame you for feeling insulted. It's a way to have their cake and eat it too. They get to land the punch, and then they get to act innocent. This kind of interaction, especially if it becomes a pattern, erodes trust and emotional safety in a relationship. Genuine humor is inclusive. It builds connection and shared laughter. It doesn't rely on making someone else feel small, stupid, or uncomfortable. When jokes consistently come at your expense or are used to subtly criticize or demean you, it's not humor. It's passive aggression wearing a clown nose. It's a way of communicating contempt or disapproval without having the courage to say it directly and own it. These aren't jokes. They are often carefully crafted barbs. I want to affirm this for you very clearly. You have every right not to find something funny, especially if it's demeaning, disrespectful, or targets something personal to you. A joke that requires you to betray your own feelings, to laugh along when you're actually cringing or hurting inside, isn't a joke worth dignifying. Your emotional response is a valid indicator. If it feels like a put-down, it probably is, regardless of the just joking disclaimer that follows. True humor uplifts. It doesn't punch down. So what's the takeaway here? You don't have to accept hurtful jokes. You don't have to pretend to be amused to keep the peace or to avoid being labeled as no fun. You can calmly and assertively set a boundary. Phrases like, I don't find that funny, or that comment felt hurtful to me, joke or not, or even a simple, I'd appreciate it if you didn't joke about that, can be very powerful. It reclaims your right to define what is acceptable treatment and what is not, regardless of how the other person tries to frame their words. Let's delve into another insidious set of phrases. You're making things up, or its close companion, you have such a bad memory. These statements are not just casual observations. They're direct and often repeated attacks on your cognitive abilities, your credibility, and your capacity to accurately perceive and recall your own life experiences. When a gaslighter uses these phrases, they're really attempting to plant a seed of doubt so deep that you begin to question the very workings of your own mind. The strategic goal here is to systematically dismantle your confidence in your own mental faculties. If they can convince you that your memory is unreliable, that you invent scenarios, or that you can't distinguish fact from fiction, you become increasingly dependent on their version of events, their interpretations, their recollections. This creates a power imbalance where they become the arbiter of truth in the relationship simply because you've been conditioned to distrust your own internal compass. It's a subtle but devastating form of control. The long-term impact of constantly hearing that you're making things up or have a bad memory can be, honestly, pretty profound. You might genuinely start to believe it. You might hesitate to share your perspective, fearing you'll be accused of fabrication. You might even start to preemptively apologize for your faulty memory, even when you have a clear recollection. This self-doubt can bleed into other areas of your life, affecting your confidence in your decisions and your overall sense of self-efficacy. The gaslighter is essentially trying to steal your confidence in your own mind. One of the most powerful antidotes to this particular form of gaslighting is the practice of journaling or meticulous note-taking. When you write things down, conversations, events, feelings, as they happen or shortly thereafter, you create an external, tangible record. This record isn't subject to the vagaries of manipulated memory. Later, when the gaslighter tries to deny or distort what happened, you can refer back to your own contemporaneous notes. This isn't about proving them wrong. It's about validating yourself and reinforcing your own grasp on reality. It's a concrete tool for self-validation. Ultimately, remember this. These phrases are designed to make you distrust yourself so that you will trust the manipulator implicitly and unquestioningly. They want to be the sole author of your shared reality. By recognizing this tactic, you can, begin to reclaim your narrative. Value your own recollections. Acknowledge that while no one's memory is perfect, a consistent pattern of someone else telling you that yours is uniquely terrible, especially when it concerns their behavior, is a massive red flag for manipulation, not a genuine assessment of your cognitive abilities. We now arrive at some of the most potent and honestly damaging phrases in the gaslighter's arsenal. You're crazy, you're losing it, or you seriously need help. These are not just dismissals, they are direct attacks on your mental stability. When someone resorts to these labels, they're really attempting to pathologize your reactions, to frame your valid emotions or logical concerns as symptoms of mental illness. This is a particularly cruel and effective way to shut you down. The primary function of calling you crazy or suggesting you need help in this context is to discredit you entirely. If you can be successfully labeled as mentally unstable, then anything you say, your complaints, your perceptions, your feelings, your memories, can be dismissed as the ravings of a crazy person. It's a tactic to silence your voice and invalidate your entire experience. Why would anyone listen to the concerns of someone who is losing their mind? This allows the gaslighter to evade all responsibility for their actions and the impact they have on you. Gaslighters often weaponize the societal stigma and fear that, unfortunately, still surrounds mental health issues. They know that being called crazy can evoke deep-seated anxieties and self-doubt. You might start to wonder, am I actually going crazy? Is there something fundamentally wrong with me? This fear can make you hesitate to share your experiences with others, afraid that they too will see you as unstable, further isolating you and strengthening the gaslighter's control. It's a profoundly isolating and intimidating tactic. But here's a critical piece of wisdom I want you to internalize. Having strong, even intense, emotional reactions to being mistreated, manipulated, lied to, or disrespected is not a sign of craziness. It is, in fact, a sign of being a healthy, feeling human being. It's a sign that your internal alarm system is working correctly and alerting you to the fact that something is very wrong in your environment or relationship. Your tears, your anger, your frustration, these are often perfectly sane responses to an insane situation created by the manipulator. So when someone hurls these accusations at you, try to see it for what it is, a desperate attempt to deflect and control. More often than not, if anyone in the dynamic genuinely needs to examine their behavior, it's the person resorting to such extreme and damaging labels to avoid accountability. Your emotional responses are valuable data. They are telling you something important about the situation you're in. Don't let someone else's manipulative words make you doubt your own sanity for reacting appropriately to their toxicity. Let's dissect a phrase that often masquerades as an apology but is anything but. I'm sorry you feel that way. This is a hallmark of the non-apology, a linguistic sleight of hand that allows the speaker to sound like they're expressing remorse without actually taking any responsibility. It's a subtle but significant form of gaslighting because it can leave you feeling acknowledged, yet strangely unsatisfied, and still holding the bag for the problem. Why isn't "I'm sorry you feel that way" a real apology? Because it carefully and deliberately focuses on your feelings as the issue, rather than on the behavior that caused those feelings. A genuine apology acknowledges wrongdoing. It might sound like, "I'm sorry I said that hurtful thing," or "I'm sorry I was late and it worried you." Notice the difference? "I'm sorry you feel that way" essentially translates to, "It's unfortunate that you're having those feelings," without any admission that the speaker did anything to provoke them. This phrase is a masterclass in subtle blame shifting. The unspoken implication is that your feelings are perhaps an overreaction, an irrational response, or simply your own problem to manage. They are sorry that you are experiencing these inconvenient emotions, but they are not sorry for the actions or words that led to them. It's a way of saying, "I regret that you're upset, but I don't regret what I did." This allows them to appear conciliatory while sidestepping any genuine accountability or need for behavioral change. Contrast this with the components of a true, meaningful apology. A genuine apology typically includes an explicit acknowledgement of the harmful action or words, a clear expression of remorse for the impact of that action, and often an indication of understanding why it was hurtful, and ideally, a commitment to not repeating the behavior. The non-apology "I'm sorry you feel that way" contains none of these vital elements. It offers no validation for your experience. So be very alert to this linguistic trick. It's designed to make the gaslighter appear reasonable and to shut down further discussion by making you think they've apologized. However, because it doesn't address the root cause, their behavior, it resolves nothing. The underlying issue remains unacknowledged and unaddressed, leaving you feeling unheard and the problematic pattern likely to continue. Recognizing this phrase for the empty gesture it is can save you a lot of frustration and false hope. Our final phrase to unpack is a common defensive maneuver you'll hear when you try to hold a gaslighter accountable. "You're twisting my words," or "I never said that, you're putting words in my mouth." This is a classic deflection tactic, often employed when you accurately repeat something they said or call them out on a contradiction. Suddenly, you become the one who is misinterpreting, misremembering, or deliberately distorting the truth. Interestingly, this accusation is frequently a form of projection. Gaslighters are masters of twisting words, manipulating narratives, and bending reality to suit their needs. So when they feel cornered or exposed, they accuse you of doing the very thing they are experts at. By throwing this accusation at you, they shift the focus away from their original statement and put you on the defensive, forcing you to justify your understanding of the conversation. It's a way to muddy the waters and escape scrutiny. The effect of this phrase is to make you second-guess your own comprehension and communication skills. You might start to wonder, did I misunderstand them? Was I not listening carefully enough? Am I the one who is actually twisting things? This creates confusion and self-doubt, which, as we know, is fertile ground for gaslighting. If you constantly doubt your ability to understand what someone is saying, you become more hesitant to challenge them or to trust your own interpretation of events. I want to encourage you to trust your understanding of conversations. While genuine misunderstandings absolutely happen in any communication, if "you're twisting my words" becomes a recurring theme every time you attempt to address problematic behavior, it's far more likely to be a manipulative tactic than a simple communication breakdown. Pay attention to the pattern. Does this phrase only pop up when they are being confronted with something uncomfortable for them? When you hear this, you can, if you choose and if it feels safe, calmly state something like, "I'm only repeating what I understood you to say." If I've misunderstood, perhaps you can clarify what you actually meant. However, be prepared that with a committed gaslighter, they may simply double down or find another way to deflect. The most important step is to internally trust your initial understanding and recognize the phrase as a probable attempt to derail the conversation and avoid taking responsibility for their words or actions. So there you have it, 7 phrases that are giant, flashing red flags for gaslighting. Recognizing them in the moment is like being given a shield. The confusion, the self-doubt, the feeling that you're going crazy. That's the fog of manipulation. But knowledge is the light that burns that fog away. When you can identify these tactics as they happen, you gain the power to not internalize them, to not let them define your reality or your self-worth. The ultimate takeaway from all of this is this. Trust yourself, trust your memory, trust your feelings. Your perception of reality is valid, And anyone who systematically tries to dismantle it, to make you question your sanity for their own benefit or comfort, is not arguing in good faith. They are trying to control you. Their attempts to redefine your experience are about their needs, their insecurities, and their desire for power, not about your actual state of mind. If you found this video valuable and it helped you connect the dots on your own experiences, or gave you tools to help someone else, please give it a like. It's a huge help to the channel and allows us to reach more people. And be sure to subscribe to Human Behavior Unpacked and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into psychology, human interaction, and understanding the patterns that shape our lives. And now, we want to hear from you. What other gaslighting phrases have you heard or experienced? Share them in the comments below. By building a library of these tactics together, we can help even more people recognize the signs and reclaim their power. Thanks for watching, and remember to trust your reality.